Welcome to Ground Control. Are we ready to take the Eachine Mini P47 out and test it with the Radiomaster TX16S? Okay, everybody, nod your head in agreement. Yes, Tony, we would like to do that. Okay, so I don't know if I mentioned it. This is courtesy of Banggood. I want to thank Banggood very much for sending this item for review. Now, I said in the first video that I was going to make some adjustments to it before I took it back out. And I've changed my mind about that. It has this, it's setting the same way it was when I came back after flying it with the stock transmitter. And the reason I decided not to do that was I thought, you know, when I go out and I fly it with the TX16S and I have so much more resolution on the controls, I may change my mind about doing something. So I decided not to make any modifications or adjustments to it other than what I've already done with the ballast weight on the nose, because it may feel tail heavy on the stock transmitter, but it may not feel tail heavy on the TX16S. The same thing with the control surfaces. They may feel completely different once I get more resolution on the controls. So first, let's go out and test it with the Radiomaster TX16S. It uses the MT99XX protocol, sub-protocol Dragon. So that will allow you to bind up your multi-protocol transmitter with this plane. So I'll meet you out at the field.
Okay, let's see if we can get a flight on the Eachine Mini P47 using the Radiomaster TX16S. I do have it in, I guess I don't need my timer anymore. I got a timer on my transmitter. Good. So I've got the flight timer on my transmitter set for 7 minutes. On the first flight with the stock transmitter, I set it up with a timer and we flew it for 7 minutes, and it flew fine for the entire 7 minutes. No worries. I didn't get anything from telemetry telling me the battery was low. So you can obviously get more than 7 minutes. I have it in beginner mode. I've got the gyro programmed on the TX16S. So let's see what it's like flying it with a hobby grade transmitter. Here we go. Oh, that is so smooth. I like that a lot. Yeah. Look at that. That is a pretty slow flight there, isn't it? I'm putting a little aileron, little rudder there. Boy, I tell you, you have so much more resolution on the controls with this. Let's see if I can give it a little down trim on the elevator. That's better. Looks like it's holding nice and straight and level. Isn't that sweet? That is a nice beginner plane. I have to remember that I have to put in so much more stick movement on the hobby grade transmitter than I do on the stock transmitter. But man, that gyro is just rock solid. Just rock solid. Look at that. Look how slow. Isn't that sweet? I think I like these 500mm Wingspan planes better than I do the 400s. You know, I like that larger size. I like the bigger landing gear, especially landing out here. But isn't that nice? Look at that. Look how stable that is. Excellent beginner plane. I'm going to try and stay out of the sun there. But just smooth. I've told you guys in the past when I have had one of these micros so that I could get set up on the TX16S at how much easier it is to fly than with a hobby grade transmitter. There's just absolutely no comparison between using a hobby grade transmitter, no matter what you're flying, and using one of those toy transmitters. You have so much more stick movement. The controls are so much smoother. So it's nice to know that you can take this plane and bind it up to your multi-protocol transmitter. You don't have to use the toy transmitter, and it is so much easier to fly. It's very easy to fly with the stock transmitter in beginner mode, but with the hobby grade transmitter, it is just that much easier. That is pretty cool. Doesn't that fly nice? So darn stable, I swear. Look how slow. And I'm going to gas up coming through the turn here. Not a lot of power, not a lot of speed, but it is a beginner plane. But one thing you can do is you can turn this pretty sharply in beginner mode. So even in beginner mode, you can fly this in a pretty darn small area. I like the markings, I like the paint scheme. It's very easy to see in the air. Very visible, which is nice, having something this small in the air and not losing orientation on it. But just uber smooth, guys. Uber smooth. Nice, relaxing flight. If you're looking for a nice plane to start out with, one for your child, a nephew, grandchild, get them interested in the hobby, this would be a good candidate for a first plane. Look at that. I mean, you can fly this in a pretty darn small area, even in beginner mode. Whee! It's been a while since I've flown one of these micros, and they are just a blast. Just an absolute blast. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? No worries. Just cruising around. Nice and smooth. Look how tight you can turn that. Look at that. You can fly this in a small area. Oh, timer's elapsed. That's 7-minute flight already? Alright, let's bring it back around, see if we can land it. Ba-ba! How about that? Man, I love that larger landing gear. Larger landing gear and wheels. I just love that. Man, it makes it a lot easier to land out here without nosing it over, you know what I mean? So yeah, awesome little plane. It flies great on the TX16S transmitter. I didn't have any problems binding it up. I actually already had a plane set up on this that uses the same protocol. Well, two of them. I have the Eachine Mini Wing Dragon, uses the same protocol, and the Eachine Mini Cessna, which also I think is a 500mm Wingspan, or it might be a 550. I can't remember, one of the two. But all three of these planes use the same protocol. So all I had to do was copy over my Cessna file. I didn't have to make any adjustments to it at all. Bound right up to it, and it was ready to go. So anyway, I'll meet you back at the hangar and tell you a couple other things about this plane. See you back then.
Okay, another fantastic flight with this little microplane, this little micro Warbird, and man, was it smooth on the controls with a hobby grade transmitter. I had to keep remembering when I went into a turn that, you know, you've got to move the sticks a lot further on this transmitter than you do on the stock transmitter to get the plane to do the same thing, because you have so much more resolution. So sometimes I would start into a turn and I would just barely move the stick and nothing was happening. So I had to keep remembering to really hit the sticks. But the slow flight capability on this is awesome. I said the 500mm planes, I think the 500mm Wingspan planes are at the very edge of using a brushed motor and gearbox. I don't think they're going to be able to get any bigger than this with a brushed motor and gearbox. And this thing is spinning, I think it's a 6x3 prop. So it doesn't have a lot of power, but it's designed to be a beginner plane, and it makes a very good beginner plane, whether you're flying it with the stock transmitter or whether you're flying it with a multi-protocol transmitter. But it was awesome, and like I said, I love these bigger wheels and tires. I can land it out there without it nosing over on me, like the 400mm planes that have the much smaller wheels on them. So that was great. I am going to go ahead, even though the elevator didn't feel twitchy on this transmitter, it still had plenty of authority to it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do what I was contemplating doing in the first video, which is move the control linkage from the outside hole on the elevator servo arm to the inner hole to soften it up a little bit. I think it's still going to have plenty of elevator authority on it. I'm going to go ahead and move the control linkage on the rudder control horn from the outer hole to the inner hole, because it did still feel weak on the rudder with the Radiomaster TX16S. The ailerons still felt fine. I didn't have a problem with that. I don't know yet if I need to add any more ballast weight to the nose, because I was looking at the plane. I had everything in a completely neutral position. The ailerons are in a completely neutral position, and that felt really good. It tracked very well. I had the elevator in a complete neutral position. But if you look at this plane and you hold it level, there's a pretty big angle of attack on the main wing. And what that does is it's like deploying flaps. You know, it creates a lot of lift so that the plane is able to fly very slow, but at the same time, with that large angle of attack on the main wing, when you've got the fuselage level, it wants to push the nose up. So the other thing that I'm going to do before I take it back out again is I'm going to disconnect the linkage from the elevator at the control horn, and I think I'm going to back that linkage out about 3 or 4 turns to put a little bit of mechanical down trim in the elevator, and then test that and see if it still feels a little bit tail heavy before I add any of the ballast weight. So the next time I take it out, I will have those adjustments made, and we will take it out and we'll do shorter flights. We'll do 2 flights. We'll fly it first with the stock transmitter, and then we'll fly it next with the Radiomaster TX16S, and then I'll decide if I need any more nose ballast weight or if I need to make any other adjustments to the linkage or control surfaces, etc. So anyway, it's a fantastic little beginner plane, and I think with a few adjustments, we'll have it flying absolutely fantastic. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.